Okay, you're listening to the DVD Fever show, and now it's time for the top 10 movie charts. I go through the US movie charts here as I could never find a reliable source for the UK ones when I started doing this show, and I find them a lot more interesting as they give an indication as to what's coming out soon in the UK. And if you want to see the trailers for all of these films, then check the description below for every single one. Okay, so at number 1 we have The Identity Thief, which has taken $36.6 million. A mild-mannered businessman, Sandy Patterson, played by Jason Bateman, travels from Denver to Miami to confront the deceptively harmless-looking woman who has been living it up after stealing Sandy's identity. Also starring Melissa McCarthy, Jon Favreau and Amanda Peet, the trailer has a few minor laughs in it, but nothing to really write home about, and as it's from the director of Horrible Bosses, which was very so-so, I'm not going to rush to see this one. If you do, then the film comes out in the UK on March 22nd. Number 2, we have Warm Bodies, which has taken $36.7 million. And after R, a highly unusual zombie, saves Julie from an attack, the two form a relationship that sets in motion a sequence of events that might transform the entire lifeless world. Now starring Nicholas Hoult as R, Teresa Palmer as Julia, Annalie Tipton and John Malkovich. I found this a lot more interesting from the trailer than the basic premise, as it seems to give a new take on the zombie genre, with the zombie falling in love with a real girl and making her feel alive again, if you'll pardon the expression. Now there are a few amusing moments in the trailer with good comic timing, so I was going to say it was a must-see, but the more I've sort of heard about the reviews, it doesn't sound that brilliant, quite frankly, so I'm going to wait for it to come out for home viewing, I think, unless something really pushes me to see it at the cinema. Number 3, it's a new entry, and it's Side Effects, which has taken $10 million. And Rooney Mara and Channing Tatum play Emily and Martin, a successful New York couple whose world unravels when a new drug prescribed by Emily's psychiatrist, intended to treat anxiety, has unexplained side effects. Directed by Steven Soderbergh and also starring Catherine Zeta-Jones and Jude Law, this looks like a fairly tedious run-of-the-mill drama, and one I'll be giving a miss for. If you want to see it, it comes out on 8th of March in the UK. At number 4 we have Silver Linings Playbook. And this is a film I have no interest in seeing, but thanks to all the Oscar fuss, this has now taken a total of $90 million to date. That still isn't going to convince me to see it. At number 5 we've got Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters, which has taken $43.8 million. In a spin on the fairy tale, Hansel and Gretel are now bounty hunters who track and kill witches all over the world. As the fabled blood moon approaches, the siblings encounter a new form of evil that might hold a secret to their past. Starring Jeremy Renner, Gemma Arterton in leather, Famke Janssen and Peter Stormare, this looks like it'll be a good send-up of the fairy tale, and a bit of a laugh in 3D. The trailer for which I saw in that format just before watching Silent Hill Revelation 3D back in November. And it comes out in the UK on 27th of February. Next we have Mama, which has taken $64 million. Annabelle, Jessica Chastain and Lucas, Nicolaj Coster-Waldau, are faced with the challenge of raising his young nieces that were left alone in the forest for 5 years. But how alone were they? With no one else famous in it, this looks like it could go either way, as the trailer starts off fine but then gets really tiresome as it goes on. And it doesn't really help that they say it's from Guillermo del Toro. But then you find out he's only the executive producer, which could mean anything from a hands-on role to simply owning the studio that made it. Then at number 7 we have Zero Dark 30, which has taken $83.6 million to date. I found this film had a great second half, but a dull first half. And you heard about this one in a recent show, but in case you missed it, there's a link to the review in the description below. Number 8 we have Argo, which has taken $124 million. Now I've still to see this, but it's back in the top 10 after all the awards nominations it's receiving, as well as those it has won, including the BAFTA Best Director Award to Ben Affleck, Best Editing and BAFTA Best Film. Number 9 it's Django Unchained, which has taken $155 million. Now basically this is the one where Tarantino makes a western, and he gets great performances out of his cast, but then spoils it by making it last about 45 minutes too long. I've also reviewed this one in full recently, so I'll post a link to the review below in the description as well. And finally at number 10 we have Bullet to the Head, which has taken $8.17 million, and there's a review of this one later in the show. Okay, so before I go into detail about the new cinema releases out on Friday, here's some more music. It's a track which featured in an episode of Doctors last week after a young woman was run over in the street, but it took me a while to work out who'd actually done it. It's The Cure and A Night Like This.